Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ask a Doulagiver. My name is Suzanne O'Brien. Today, we have a very sensitive subject. We're going to be talking about addiction, and we're going to be talking about pain management and addiction. So I am not going to read this question verbatim because I'm protecting the identity of the person, but this is really important. I think lots of us can benefit from this discussion. So this comes in, and it's from a person who says that there is a client who has overdosed in their history, has an addictive problem with drugs, has overdosed many times. This time, the family was told that they are not going to get better, that hospice should be part of the process now. So the question is, how does the pain medicine work with somebody who is an addict? Well, I'll tell you this, that somebody who is at the end of life should have medicine to alleviate pain, breathing issues. It should not be withheld because they have an addictive problem currently or in the past. So a lot of times people will say, well, they used to be addicted to medicine, so we don't want them to have any of this medicine because we're afraid that we'll go back there. And I understand there's so much pain that goes along with addiction that is caused, so many layers. And there's probably post-traumatic stress disorder, even thinking about that person having medicine or narcotics or something that they can set them off again. Well, they're at end of life at this moment. So it's not like they're going to be then going out with their full addiction and acting the way they used to act. They're at the end of life. They deserve to have a dignified, pain-free death, or at least minimal pain and breathing issues that's going to require narcotic medicine if that's what's needed. So we don't want to withhold that. We want to get really grounded in the reality that they are at end of life and that they're going to have their end of life regardless. They're not going to all of a sudden be, reigniting this addiction and be running the streets and doing things that they used to do. This is end of life. And that they are going to have an end of life, whether they're in pain or if they're not in pain with that medicine. So it's not going to change that they are at end of life. So we want them to be cared for. Now, if you want to do a very extra layer of protection, if this is something that concerns you, or if somebody is not bedridden, or you're afraid that they're going to have access or can get to those medicines, hospice has what you call a locked box. And so if there is somebody who has an addiction problem in the family, then they will come in and they will have a locked box where those medicines are kept, and they will designate one caregiver that is the key holder and the one that's going to administer those medicines that does not have any, obviously, addiction issues. So we just want to, again, come from a place of no judgment, understanding that addiction is a medical condition. Yes, does it come along with a lot of layers and a lot of pain? Absolutely. And the other thing is that at end of life, this is it, right? And so everyone attached that probably has, a lot of their own feelings. Maybe they have anger, maybe they have resentment, maybe they have guilt. Who knows? All of it comes with those addictive scenarios in lifetime. It can be very, very hard. So the other part of this question is talking about the family and how do you support the family here? And there is, adult children who are very angry, who haven't spoken to this person because of this addiction. So what I want to say is that, again, forgiveness is for you. And forgiveness is something that can set you free. And so when there's somebody who's at the end of life that maybe you haven't spoken to because of whatever those situations have happened, and now we're going to speak in terms of addiction, because there is a point where you have to remove yourself from the addictive situation. You can't go down with that person, and that person is the only one that can do their work. So of course you can love them, but you can love them from afar, which many people choose. So what do we do at this moment at end of life? So, we talk about forgiveness a lot in the Doulagivers training. And one of the things you have to remember is that, number one, forgiveness is for you. Number two, you don't need to see the person or speak with them to get forgiveness or give forgiveness. And that's very important because it might not be appropriate. The person doesn't even need to be alive. You can offer forgiveness even after somebody has their end of life. But let's talk about addiction for a minute. Addiction is something that takes over. and allows people, you've heard many people say, that's not my mom, that's not my dad. I don't know who that is, but that is not the person I know. And that's very true. So I'm told that, again, that addiction takes over people and it needs to survive. It needs to keep living. So it keeps the addiction in full bloom all over, because if it doesn't have that constant energy coming in of the whatever the substance is, whatever is feeding it, then it can't survive. So it really wants to influence that person to do things, to act upon things, and to keep using so that it can survive. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because I feel like for us to be able to forgive, we have to come to a place, or it's very helpful for a bigger picture of understanding. It's not excusing. It's not letting someone off the hook. Everyone is responsible for their own actions, but it is very important sometimes to understand the way that addiction works so that you can say, okay, that person just could not get out of it. These horrible things were being done. It was the disease. And maybe you can find that place in your heart to not only forgive them, but again, just forgive the whole situation, because it is for you. So know that you don't have to see that person if you don't want to, that you can give forgiveness from afar, and you can give forgiveness even when the person is not alive. And also that forgiveness is the greatest tool to set you free. And when you do that, your whole future is anything you want it to be. Forgiveness is the greatest thing I've ever seen at the end of life and in life. So this today is Ask a Doulagiver, and we're talking about addiction, pain medicine at the end of life, and also how to forgive somebody who is an addict that was part of your family. All right, everyone, please send your questions, write a comment. I will definitely answer them. askadoulagiver@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next episode.